So I decided to try something different since I've been experimenting with this Janome MC9900. Now my other top line machine that I own has a built-in camera which will scan this and it comes up on the screen, and then you're able to see where to place the design on your fabric. Since this is old school, I wanted to try this quilt design that I downloaded, and so I put the template on the batting material. What I got here is I got top material, bottom material, and some cotton batting, and I spray basted it all. I'm using the Janome clamps that come with their frames. I put the template on, and then this doesn't have to be precise come testing, but just in case I was doing a quilt, I wanted to see how I would do it, so I tested this first like this. So I put the template on. I also cut down the template because it was a very large piece of paper. So I've got the template on the markings here. You can see the markings there. There's the crosshair. So just to see what this will do. Alright, so let me try it. Alright, and I also get to use my quilting needle, size 12. I think 12 is the only size I have, so let's hope that this is large enough for this quilt. Finally get to use this. This quilt needle is by Class A. And then for the thread, I'm using a matching thread. This is a cotton thread that I got a long time ago. I do a lot of shopping on eBay and things like that, and when I travel I would buy lots of threads in different places when I go to local sewing stores. So you know, when people ask me where do I get my threads, you know, my honest question is all over, and I don't remember. Okay, there's the bobbin. So, oh, here's a little trick for you people that are using this machine, okay? So normally, you know, if you use different brand machines, it's hard, you know, you got to get used to different ways different brand machines work. Well, this one here, in the like my other machine, if you push it over here, then you push a button here, and this and that. Well, this machine here, it says bobbin's winding, but nothing's happening, right? Nothing's happening. Bobbin winding, nothing happening. Well, hello. Push the green and go button. Now my other concern is, since this embroidery bobbin case is really tight for the really thin embroidery bobbin, I'm going to switch this out for my standard bobbin case, because this sewing thread, this thread here is more of a thicker regular construction thread. It's not as fine as this, and this thread will be, this bobbin case here is calibrated more for this thickness of thread. And the other thing I would do is I would pull up the bobbin thread with a long tail, and then I'll pull it up through the fabric before I start sewing, because this is going to be seen from both sides, and you don't want that underneath, that little knot looking underneath like you normally get on regular embroidery. Okay, and there you can see I brought both threads up. So let me lower my foot, hang on to these threads, take a couple stitches, stop, I'm going to cut the thread, and then we're going to continue. Alright, here we go. Here's the design. Suggestion: if you have a really big quilt that you're doing this on, I would suggest, if you're a die-hard quilter and you're really going to be doing a lot of quilting like this, build yourself out a very long extension arm here so you can support all this fabric. Put something out here so you can support all this fabric. Now, I don't do quilting. I mean, I know how to quilt and I know how to do all this stuff. But if you're going to actually be doing the quilting, which is like what we're doing here, or doing it by hand, free motion by machine, not automatic embroidery, do get an extension table large enough to support the fabric so it makes it easier for you, okay? All right. I'm excited to see if I get that real puffy look here. Okay, another thing, I didn't want my threads to be cut at the end because I want to keep that long thread tail when I move on to the next set, and so I'm able to pull it up through my fabric without having to open up the bobbin case and everything again. So I shut everything off for now. Alright, so I'm done. And it did not cut, which I didn't want it to because I want to be able to pull it out myself. So I want to show you a couple things I noticed. And as I predicted, I thought it would happen. Let's see if I can get you to see here. You see there's kind of a loopy that wants to start here. Alright, which means when you get this, that means your needle's too small. You need a larger needle. So this was, like I showed you earlier, this was a size 12. I had a feeling I might need a size 14. So since I don't have 14 quilt needles, I would try to use a top stitch needle size 14. That might make a big difference in this. But so now I'm going to take this out and re-hoop it with the template and move on and see what happens from there. Now, since I'm not dealing with any stabilizer underneath, well, it looks good, doesn't it? Doesn't look bad at all, does it? Just that spot, couple spots where we wanted to loop. And that's because, like I said, I just told you about the needle. Anyway, so what you do is we're just going to slide this over and then lay the template down with the pattern piece and go to the next section. Alright, so I printed out another piece of paper so I can show you all. So this is just regular printer paper. They also have, like, you can print on like transparency material, like from the old-fashioned overhead projectors and stuff. They make all kinds of things. Just visit your office supply store. Okay, so see, here's the circle, here's your crosshair, and then on the template paper, there's your crosshair there. So then you just find that, and then you have the lines on the side. You see, line that up, line it up there, even it on the bottom where the crosshair is there, just like that, and then draw. I would cut this paper out then. I would trace around here and cut the excess paper out, and that's what I'm going to do now. Alright, so I cut around, and here's a tip for you guys. Get yourself some notchers. These are pattern notchers. You get these everywhere they sell supplies for like college students for fashion design school. And they'll cut out your little slits there. Then if you forget and use your regular scissors like I do, your fabric scissors to cut paper, I always keep this Fiskars fabric sharpener around. Scissor sharpener around. It's so easy to use. You just put these in here and you just go like this and sharpens it up instantly. Alright? Those tips will help you newbies and maybe you veterans who don't know these things. And a lot of people who don't venture into different genres of sewing may not know about these notches that they use for pattern making when you're doing garment sewing. I kind of messed that up there, but as long as you have your notches here. So let me put this in the hoop and I'll show you. Alright, so here it is. You can see how nice that fits in there. So this is how you place when you move your fabric. And then I also have a guide here. You see that little line on the hoop here? So if I'm doing the bottom here, I just line that up here on the bottom to keep it pretty much horizontal level. Anyway, it's quilting on a quilt, so it doesn't matter how even it really is. You just do it with your template because it's got to have movement anyway. I mean, unless you're doing specific designs with straight lines, this is about as close as you're going to get to being perfect. And for all of you that don't work with patterns, the arrow is always up. It also means the grain line. if you see on like garment patterns, newbies, this is for you. If you see a line like this, a long line with an arrow, that means this is the grain line of the fabric. So that's stuff you'll need to study. I'm not going to go into that now, but these little tips, you know, bookmark my videos, guys, and save them, because these little tips I'm giving you is going to help you along the way. Alright, let's sew this one out now. Here's how you use this sharpener. And then you got brand new scissors again. Now I know some of you are going to write on the group and say, where'd you get that design? Where'd you get that design? I got to tell you how I find designs, guys, for you guys that don't know how. I go to Google and I enter, like for instance, I was looking for some quilt designs and I entered quilt line, embroidery quilt line designs. And all these different pages came up of all these different designs. Now, I'm not being sponsored to promote this, and normally my rule is I don't tell you names of products if I'm not being sponsored. Okay, because companies, they pay money for advertising, trust me, they do. So, but every so often I'll tell you something just because I'm trying to be a nice guy to help you out. So, for this one here, I found this on OESD website. OESD. That's a company that supplies accessories for embroidery. So I found this and it came in a card, and you can also buy designs separately. So I just bought a few separately because the rest of the design in the card wasn't my taste. But this, I wanted to try this out. So that's where I get in. That's how you find designs. You know, if you're interested in a topic, like I did the Laurel Birch designs embroidery. And I wrote and I said, no, I was never, of course, I wasn't being sponsored by Laurel Birch and Laurel Birch Corporation, if it still exists, I don't know, because we all know Laurel Birch, the artist, had died, but Laurel Birch was very special to us artists in our industry, and I'd be more than happy to promote her. So I got that CD a long time ago, right? And someone on our groups, and I said, this is Laurel from Laurel Birch Designs. And somebody asked, well, where do you get it? Where do you buy it? And you know, you get a lot of those people who ask you that. You can give them the name of everything. You still get those people. Where do you buy it from? Whereas I try to teach people, go right to Google, enter the information I gave you, and it'll come up. So I had explained to this lady. I said, I'm sure if you Google it, it'll come up for you. So don't be afraid to Google when someone gives you the name of the product or the name of anything else. Google it, find it, and you'll be able to buy it. Okay? I hope that helps you all with that. I don't know if I'm talking to the old timers about that still don't know how to use a computer, or the new people who do know how but are lazy. I don't know. But if you're uneducated, you're not aware, that's how you do it. Okay, everybody? You know, this would look really pretty with really thicker batting, don't you think, everybody? But for flat batting like this is really nice. If I used a polyester thicker batting, this would be really cool. And here's something I'm telling everybody. So just like I'm doing right now, I'm testing, right? So whenever you're ready to quilt something that you've made, always do a test first, because you want to find out the thread is right. You want to find out the needle is right, like I showed you about the needle. And I'm just leaving the same needle in here because this is just a test. I know that if I put a top stitch needle in here that's bigger than this, or if I get the quilting needle that's bigger than this, it'll work just fine now. So far it's okay, but every so often you'll see just a little bit of a loop. And for me, you know, I'm being real anal about this stuff, and some of you quilters are very anal too, so you know what I'm talking about. But the quilting needle, now if you go to websites for needles, okay, like go to the Class A website, it's another thing that newbies don't know about, and some of you old timers, you know, you don't know what needle types are. You're talking about, oh, I use a 7511, 8012, 8014, you know, and you don't know the types. Well, the quilting needle has a sharper point on it to go through that batting, you know. And then, like I said, the way to tell if you need a bigger size is if you're still getting a little bit of loopies for the thread and everything you're using. So you need to go up to a size 14, for example, and that's what I'm explaining to you today. I hope these tips you guys pay attention to these tips, because they're very important, because we see these questions being answered all the time, over and over and over again on the websites, and I don't think any of you are really going to, or on the Facebook groups, and I don't think many of you are going to the websites of like the needles to understand all this information, stuff like that. So if you really want a free education, listen to things like us, like people like me tell you from the experience we have. It's going to save you a lot of aggravation. Now here's another tip. Doing into hoop quilting is going to be a tough thing if you don't have a wide arm here. This machine is not a wide arm, okay? A long arm. This is not a long arm. This is very short. This is pretty much a standard size of sewing machine. So that is why a lot of people are investing in the really long arm, more expensive machines. But there's ways around it. You just use smaller projects on machines like this. And you can roll your fabric up, and out here put a clippies on the outside here and back there to keep the fabric from bunching up on the corner here, and you just lay it on close enough to the edge here without going over onto the bed of the hoop where it's going to embroider. Keep these things in mind. Also, when you hoop, you want to make sure you don't get this caught under the hoop. You know, we all done things like that, and that's how you learn. So, oh, look at the back, how pretty. See that? All right, so keep these tips in mind, okay? Let's go. Something else I want to talk to you about. So what we're doing now, what I'm doing now, this is being a machine operator, okay? You're considered a machine operator, okay? You're a mechanic, all right? You did not make this design. You are not doing free motion by hand sewing this out. You are right now, this is what I'm calling myself right now, a machine operator. If I were to do this free motion quilting, like you see a lot of quilters do, you know, you see a lot of those women who put those big white Pillsbury glove looking gloves on. Well, there's other ways that's easier than those gloves. You get a Martelli hoop, a Martelli gripper, much easier. Anyway, I'll do another video on that. I did one long time ago. I'll have to update that video and show you guys. But anyway, if you are just using, like lately on this machine, I have been using all someone else's designs and just testing out the mechanics of the machine. This is the greatest way to get to learn your machine first and how to operate it. After you learn all this mechanical stuff like this and you keep practicing, then you can venture into doing your own designs, like your own quilting by hand, sewing, you know, all other kinds of sewing. By the way, in the future, take notes of this, everybody. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, because in the future, coming up very shortly, I'm having free motion embroidery, floral embroidery, free motion by machine, coming up soon. I decided to do that video for you all because that is such a beautiful thing. I absolutely love doing that, and I'll put a sneak peek picture in right here. Okay, so back to this and let's finish it up. done, and here's the big reveal. You see the spacing there between that one and that one? That's pretty good. I could have made it closer if I wanted. You just line it up closer and you'll be able to see. But you see how nice? It didn't overlap. I didn't cut into that. That's because I used a template. So let me just lift this up, bring it out, and then I'll have to cut my thread and cut the thread underneath. Alright, so here's the back. You can see where it was looping, okay? Which definitely indicates a larger needle. Now, aren't you glad that you tested this first before you did the real thing? So what I'll do is, I will do another section later with a different needle. I think I'll go out to the store and get myself a size 14 top stitch needle. Or I'm size 14 quilting needle. And then I'll try that. But this is an indication here, guys, of why you get looping is because the needle is too small. Alright? Hope that helps you all. So let me take this down and show you the front. Alright, so here's where they match, where I connected. Back this up. I know it's hard to see, everybody. But there was my first. Here's my second. And if I had moved this fabric a little closer, I could have like just barely touched it if I wanted. And this is how you learn. This is how you learn. You get to feel your machine. I got a little bit left here, so I might hook this up later on with a new needle, and we'll test it. So let me turn this to the back to show you that again. See all that bunching there? That's because the needle is too small. Say it with me. The needle is too small. Okay, because you see that with a lot of newbies. Why is my thread bunching up like that, you know? And now you know. Now you know. Okay? So that's why we always test. That's why we always test before we do the real thing. Looks beautiful on the front, but as soon as you flip it on the back, it's like, oh boy. That's like, ooh, they look fine from the front, but when they walk away, ooh, that's a lot of real estate when they go away. Alright? There you go. Hope this helps you all. I hope this helps you all a lot. See, you never stop learning, right? You never stop learning. And never be frustrated because there's always a solution. So, I want to get this video out to you guys who are beginners or just using this machine and trying different things. And then you may want to try doing this with embroidery thread and see how it comes out with embroidery thread. See what it would look like. Remember, the thread I used in here was a heavier sewing type thread. It wasn't a very fine thread. So, but yeah. And that's what it's all about. It's all about testing and getting it right before you do the real thing, because a lot of people want to dive in and just do the real thing first. Alright, I'll talk to you later. Please like and subscribe. And stay tuned, I got a lot more coming in the future for everybody. Alright, talk to you soon. Bye now.